Welcome back to This Movie Got Me, the podcast where I just talk about the movies that connected with me, that intrigued me, and sometimes it's going to be positive, sometimes it's going to be negative, but most of the time we're just going to have a good time talking about these movies. Today, we are talking about Supergirl.
Okay, let's go.
The best blockbuster of the summer arrives.
It's really good, you know?
Okay, don't have too much.
Supergirl is an entertaining thrill ride.
Superman sees the good in everyone. And I see the truth.
And the most fun movie of the summer.
Cool.
Supergirl, rated PG-13.
So this podcast is a little bit late, but I watched Supergirl opening night, and this movie got me confused. I'm confused in so many ways about this movie. Honestly, I'm pretty confused even on how I feel about this movie, because there's part of me that enjoyed it, that liked it, that thought that there was some character stuff that I was connecting with. And then there was a lot of stuff that I just did not like about this movie. And I hope that this podcast doesn't come across as just like a bash fest on this movie, because so many people have hated on this movie. And some of it I think is just unfair. You know, like saying that a movie is mediocre, you know, and if you said that and you're like, oh, I didn't hate on the movie, I just said it was mediocre, you're fine. But there are some people who went way beyond that and said that this movie is trash. This movie is garbage. Supergirl as a character is garbage. You're wrong. You're just wrong. Comics prove that you're wrong. This character has an epic backstory. This character has been around for years. So many people have connected with this character. And for you to just say like this character is irrelevant, or to say that this movie sucked, to me, that just invalidates your opinion. Like, you can have your opinion. That's fine. If you're leaving that opinion down in the comment section, cool. That's fair. This is the internet. You do what you got to do. But for me, I just go, I don't really trust your opinion, because this movie is definitely not terrible. But there are some confusing things in this movie. All right, let's deal with the positive. Got to start with Millie Alcock. She just knocks it out of the park as this character. Now, you don't have to love like this rendition of the character. To be honest, I did not. Like, this is a character that is more Star-Lord than it is Superman. And like, yes, I'm going to be giving a whole bunch of Guardians of the Galaxy references throughout this movie review, because that's the whole thing, right? Like, everyone's going to compare this to James Gunn's Guardians, and it's true. The reason why they do it is because it's true. Like, there is just so much similarities between these things. But Millie Alcock's Supergirl is basically Star-Lord with a Superman kind of costume on. And you can see that from the beginning. Like, peeing with the door open. Like that I'm going to go into spoilers. This is a spoiler podcast. That was just strange. I was sitting there in the movie theater watching this thing on my own, you know, went really late, opening night, Thursday night. And I'm watching, and, you know, this girl, like this Ruthie comes into the ship, or at least by it. And Supergirl's just like, I got to go to the bathroom, and just leaves the door open, is just yelling. And the girl like comes in, and I'm just thinking like, one, this is strange writing. Because like there's a minor there. Like, to me, that's just strange. It's weird. It might I might have to do some editing to this podcast to even talk about it. But like people aren't putting those pieces together. That's strange. That's a really strange thing. And there's constantly stuff in this movie that's like that. But like that rendition of the character, like I think is summed up in that scene where she's just kind of gross. You know, she hasn't gotten her life put together. And by the end, she kind of does, maybe. All right. But she's a messy character. She doesn't have her priorities set yet. She doesn't know what she believes in yet. She's not like Clark in a lot of ways. She wants to be good. You can see that throughout the movie. Sometimes she does the right thing. Sometimes she's brave. Other times she just doesn't care and pees with the door open. And it's just that's her character. But Millie Alcock as an actress, performing that character was fantastic. I thought she did everything that the script called on her to do. I think she went above and beyond and was fantastic in this role. I just didn't like the role. Like I just didn't care for this version of the character too much. There were some moments I thought maybe, but by the ending, you're just like, no, I don't think I could really root for this character that hard. So like that, I would say Millie Alcock, her performance, her connection with Ruthie was good. Ruthie had some hard moments. The young actress, Eve Ridley, I thought overall she was fine, but there were just some like lines of dialogue that they had her say that just, it just wasn't good. And that's probably where I need to go to next, because it's hard to talk about this movie and not talk about the writing. The writing is bad. The writing for Supergirl is just bad. And I don't know why this woman got this job, to be honest. Like, James Gunn is in charge. He could hire whoever he wants. But when he hires someone who just publicly, comes out with it's a generic movie. It's a very generic superhero movie. And just even beyond superheroes, it's just a generic story. Essentially, you have a girl whose family was murdered and she's on a revenge path. And she needs someone to kind of guide her on that revenge path. But the one who's guiding her, while troubled herself, eventually helps this girl heal from her grief, or at least in a way that isn't self-destructive for her or leads her down the dark path of becoming just like those people who took away her family. And that's that. I mean, how many times have you seen that movie? We've seen Supergirl. You may not have seen it before, like you just saw it the one time you saw Supergirl, but I can guarantee you've seen this movie at least a dozen times. Like, it's just a very generic story. Now, I haven't read the comic. I was even just going through my comics today and looking at values of different things and having fun looking at them. I am a comic book guy, but I just never got around to reading King's Girl of Tomorrow, I think is what it is, or Woman of Tomorrow. But, maybe it is an insanely good comic. I have to believe that it's written very differently. Now, the writer for this movie is Anna Nagara, and she has not written any other movie. This is why I say I just don't understand how she got this job. All right. She was an actress. I can see that in her stuff. She's on the blacklist. All right. But as far as writing, she's done some TV stuff, and there's a short film, but that's it. There's the film We Win, which is a short that has the guy from The Good Place. And then this. How did this happen? I don't understand that. Now, maybe James Gunn, because he is a writer, ghost wrote some of this movie, and that would make sense. Or Craig Gillespie, the director for it, maybe he helped in with the writing. And again, I don't like bashing women in positions of power and decision making in Hollywood. I'm for that. All right. But this woman should not have gotten this job. And I would be saying the same thing if it was a dude, because this story was poorly written. The dialogue was awful. This is the worst villain. Am I going to say it? I think so. I think this might be the worst comic book villain of all time, at least in the Marvels. I don't even remember her name, but at least you remember, like, one, she had a hammer. And so at least she has a cool weapon. But also she had a reason for what she was doing. There was a planet that needed her help. She had to, be able to fix the sun, or whatever the heck that movie was about. I don't know. But, I would say that she was better. And this character, I'm even forgetting his name, Krem. Oh, he sucked. And a lot of that is the writing. All right. Now, some of it you could say performance. Some of it you could say, design of the character, why he looks like he's in a Mad Max movie, or even probably more specifically, he belongs in a Quentin Tarantino movie in a basement under a pawn shop. Like, it's just, why did you go there? When you even look at the comic that this is based off of, like these two characters don't look anything alike. So like, yes, I think that there were some issues with how it was conceived, but even just the writing, he doesn't say anything throughout the movie to make you feel like, oh, he's a bad guy. He doesn't do anything. Like, there's talk about what he does. Like, I guess that they're taking like these little girls and making them into brides for this all male species. Like, I don't know, like they kill off the moms. I don't know, but like, it's just strange. It's never laid out properly. Maybe because it's such a graphic idea that they just like never flesh out like how evil he is. He just comes in and he kills Ruthie's mom and dad. And it's like about the swords. This is writing, okay? This is something that the screenwriter should have gotten right. The whole point of this movie is that Krem shows up at Ruthie's parents' place wanting a sword, wanting the swords that he makes. He needs those weapons. And then he kills them. And then we never see him use the weapons? Like, that's writing. That's poor writing. Like, why was he all about getting these weapons if you're never going to see him use these weapons again? He doesn't use a sword. He just keeps using the axe that he already had. And you don't see the other guys, like his gang members. You don't see him using swords that are very specific. And like, what's so special about these swords that Ruthie's dad makes? Nothing. That's just a plot device. And like, maybe in the comic it works. All right. I don't want to say that over and over again, so I'm just going to stop saying it. But maybe in the comic, this story works. But in this movie, it didn't. And that falls at the feet of the screenwriting. And, you have this adventure where Supergirl is with Ruthie and they're going out through space trying to track down Krypto's antidote because he gets shot by Krem. I never once thought that, Krypto was going to die. Now, part of that is like, that's a pretty big thing to do. Kill off Superman's dog, I guess in this world, Supergirl's dog in a movie. That's pretty dark. And I don't think that James Gunn would do that. He's a lover of animals. So I wasn't expecting it. But also, I should feel like it could happen. And at no point did I feel like it was something that couldn't happen. Also, Supergirl gets the same poison from Krem that her dog does. She goes and sees a yellow sun and she's fine. Why didn't she do that with her dog? They have like a little line that's like, oh, it could make it a lot worse if you move him. It could accelerate things. I don't know. It seemed like Supergirl had enough time to go find a yellow sun. So maybe Krypto would survive. Also, Krypto's about to die if he doesn't get it. So maybe just do it. Like, what's more likely, going and getting a yellow sun like Supergirl seemed like it was very easy for her to do, or finding Krem in the entire galaxy and getting the antidote and then coming back in time? That's like a no-brainer. Of course, it's like, go get Krypto into the yellow sun. But again, a writing problem. This is just, it was confusing writing. I felt very confused by what the goal was. I was confused by like who Supergirl was as a character. Yes, she's messy. I talked about that. But there are moments where she's just like super brave, and it's just like, okay, we're just going to do this. Like, there are moments where she doesn't have her powers, where she's just like, yeah, I'll go fight this alien that's way bigger than me. At least when we see Superman without his powers, he's just a normal guy. When Supergirl doesn't have her powers, it's like she's still very strong. That's confusing. But, at least she's brave and she's going to make the right decision until she just doesn't. The ending. Let's talk about this ending. All right. This ending is an all-time bad ending. By that, I mean, one, apparently they completely misread the comic and thought this is what Supergirl does or Ruthie does. Like, that's like the end is Krem getting killed. Apparently that's not what happened in the comic. So that's kind of funny that they all just misread that. But more importantly for this movie, Supergirl stabs Krem. She's like, Ruthie, don't do it. It'll change you. Why she says that, we have no idea. Very confused on that too. Because this is a girl who grew up rich, on Krypton with her wealthy parents. It seems that way, at least. And then like they get, the world collapses or whatever happens, and they take the Kandor, the city, up into the atmosphere, and they get to survive there for whoever knows how long. Although there's now kryptonite being, a thing. We'll talk more about that in a bit. But like she sees people around her die, so we get it. That would affect you. But why she just distrusts people? Which is like her thing in this movie. She distrusts everyone. Like her line in the trailer. I'm sure everyone has already pointed this out, but Superman sees the best in people and I see the truth. All right. How did she get that? Because from the clips that we saw, she was pretty naive still on Krypton or Kandor or whatever you want to call that floating city. She was pretty naive. And then to go from that to like this jaded girl, like without anything in between, like we didn't get much. Like if we're going to have flashbacks, let's have some effective flashbacks. Let's see why she turned into this character. But yet again, the writing, very confusing. We just don't. We get that she loves her family. We get some doubling down on that weird thing that James Gunn did. Basically, he just wanted to have a crass joke about a secret harem in the Superman movies and ruin Jor-El forever off of that. And they doubled down on it. It's so strange that they did that. Very confusing on that part too. Just why would you do that? I don't know. But they just have some really bad lines basically being like, look, it's the baby that's going to take over the galaxy. Hooray. But you don't get to do that, Kara. You're going to be the good one. And that, like, why does she turn into like this jaded character? Sad? I could totally get why she would be sad. Why she wouldn't want to connect with people? Understood. But that's not what's going on with this character. She's jaded. She's been hurt. She distrusts people. It's not because people have died, but because of bad things have happened to her. But we never see like how the bad things have happened to her from people. Yes, the planet, we get that, but that's not the kind of hurt that she describes in this movie. So like sometimes she's brave, sometimes she's hurt, okay, that's fine. Let's talk about the action. The action in this movie is kind of awesome. Like I can't say it's not. Craig Gillespie knows how to direct some action sequences. While it didn't look great because there was so many weird things about the color choices in this movie, everything is like really dark. And I get it. They want to do dark backgrounds. Every alien planet is like this dark green with a little bit of brown and like this barren wasteland. That's what it looks like. But we get vibrant lasers all the time. It's a Guardians of the Galaxy aesthetic. And I get it, but I'm just tired of that aesthetic. To me, it didn't work in this movie, and it made some of the action sequences not pop as much as they could have. All right, let's talk about two specific scenes. All right, the bus scene. Probably my favorite part of the movie. And I'm not talking about like the phasing in and out of those aliens. I didn't really understand that. Why they just basically were like, all of a sudden they're going to have a fight sequence like the Marvels, but they don't have like the, armbands at all. It's just like technology. Why that works, I don't know. Some funny stuff came from it. But when Supergirl is flying to the yellow sun, she has to make it to the yellow sun and flying through stuff. And then when she gets those powers, I'm sorry, but I was like, that is baller. Like that is so cool. Like this, I'll rewatch this movie just for that scene alone. It was so awesome. Her breaking stuff and like the laser eyes. She uses her heat vision. It's so cool how it's just her in front of the sun. I thought that sequence just rocked. And of course, what everyone is really talking about though is the end. The end, because we have this cover of The Middle, Jimmy World, which is one of my favorite songs ever. And that's the needle drop for this last battle with Supergirl and Krem and all of his cronies. And, I'm not a person that's like all that mad at that needle drop. I thought it was strange. I thought more because, not because of the song, but just because of how on the nose it was. You know, like it's literally a girl in the middle, you know, of this circle. Like they could have at least done it to where it was like people coming at her and it wasn't just a circle. You know, like if it's just a circle, you can't say circle. It's just too much for us as an audience. But you know, people got mad about this this needle drop and going at like the artist. I thought that was so mean. You know, I saw the reel that this lady put out, and she's just saying like, you know, this was her dream come true, in that she recorded this song in like her basement. This is not some like highfalutin artist. This is just like a person who got their shot. And then for people on the internet to be like, yeah, it sucks. I felt so bad for her because the song is good. It's a good cover. I just think it was a little on the nose. But the action that's going around it is awesome. Like these moments where it's just her and the slow-mo, and it's just like several like slow-mo moments where she's doing some incredible things using her full powers. It's just awesome. And I feel like that's the moment when we should have had a score. Like we didn't need a needle drop. I'm tired of the needle drops. I know James Gunn loves his needle drops. I just feel like that moment with Supergirl with all of the power on display, these cool movements going into slow-mo, it was awesome looking. But it could have been just that much more powerful if they had a good theme for Supergirl. Instead of going to a song, like, and I guess they had some struggling, you know, it was James Gunn who came up with this cover of The Middle, but I guess they went through like 45 songs, Craig Gillespie said. Well, if you're going through that many songs, maybe you just shouldn't have it be a needle drop. Maybe that's when you should have the composer come up with something. And the composer was completely missing. One of the best parts of Superman, this James Gunn Superman, was the composing. Like the music is incredible. I listen to the score for Superman all the time because it's just fantastic. Where was that in Supergirl? I can't remember a single song. I haven't wanted to go and check it out on iTunes. Nothing is popping to mind. But if you had a good score, a good theme, that could have been a moment that really was powerful and could have really, I think, maybe even saved the movie a little bit. Like, again, I'm not saying this movie is bad, but that was a moment that could have been incredible. But because of the needle drop, because it was a little on the nose, and because some people just didn't want it at all, I think it really, you know, left people. That was like the moment at the end of the movie. So that's what they went away into their cars driving home thinking about. How bad was that needle drop? That's what they're thinking about. Instead of how cool was that moment? That could have been what people were talking about. So it's unfortunate they didn't have a better score. Let's talk about some of these characters who came into the movie. Superman, David Cornsweet, coming in with a few scenes. Probably the best scenes of the movie, other than that one bus action sequence. And I'm not talking about the entire bus sequence, okay? I'm talking about the ending when she's going toward the sun. All of that is fantastic. But David Cornsweet, he just stole the movie every time he was on screen. I love this guy as Superman. He gets it. He knows exactly what to do. He's so earnest. And while that's easy to do when Kara is so obviously jaded and Millie Alcock is doing a really good job performing that, like it's easy to look earnest and kind in comparison to that, but he just knocks it out of the park. He does it all the time. He's just awesome. I want to see more Superman. That's like the thing about this movie. I don't like, it's so confusing on what the goal was, but if the goal was to get me more excited for Man of Tomorrow, it did that. It did that because of David Cornsweet. Nothing to do with Supergirl. All to do with David Cornsweet. And while I don't think that was necessarily the goal, the overall goal of let's get people more excited about that movie, I fit into that. I'm more excited for Man of Tomorrow because of this movie, but only because of David Cornsweet's scenes, because he was fantastic. Now, Lobo, I love Jason Momoa. I love Jason Momoa in Fast X. All right, that's how much I love Jason Momoa. I thought that was like his Joker, and it was so fun. And I'm not saying the movie's good. I just giggle every time he makes his jokes in that movie. I'm a big Jason Momoa fan. But this Lobo, I don't know, man. I'm a little confused on that too. I'm super confused about a lot of this movie. There's part of me that loves it. There's a part of me that's like, did they just call him immortal? What does that mean? What does that mean for Lobo? He's a biker. Like, what are you doing? Trying to make him like a celestial? Like, that's the Marvel universe. What are you doing? He's not an immortal. But, I think I understood what they were trying to do. It's just like, he's just like a rogue, just like he's his own person. He's fulfilling his own purposes. And, you got to stay out of his way is I think what they were trying to do with that line of being immortal. But again, that's a writing issue. But also, like, why did Jason Momoa have an accent? He just didn't need it. Like, first off, he's barely able to keep it. All right, but if you're going to do an accent, okay, you got to commit. You got to commit, and it's just unnecessary, and so he just doesn't commit to it. And just like, why even try it then, bro? Just be yourself. We all know it's you. It's fine. It's fine. You're awesome in this role, just as yourself. So, the immortal thing was weird. The accent thing was weird, but everything else was great. And his scenes with Ruthie in the prison, I thought were fantastic. When he looks back and sees that Ruthie has already gone into the air duct, he was just like, yeah. I was just like, that's funny. That's pretty good. And he was used really well, just not too much. I was a little afraid that they would just like, this movie always looked generic. From the trailer on, it just looked like a generic superhero movie. And there was a part of me that was a little afraid that in reshoots, they would just be like, Lobo's with them for the entire time, and it would just be too much Lobo. But I feel like it was like the perfect amount for this story. So that was good. So the characters being brought in, but let's talk a little bit about the kryptonite stuff and how it's confusing. Does everyone know about Kryptonians? Like, Superman hasn't been Superman for that long, right? Like, we know he's been to space because he talked about taking that monster to an intergalactic museum or, something like that. Some intergalactic vet, I don't know. But he was like going to bring him to space. So he's been to space before. But what did he do in space that everybody knows a Kryptonian and knows like what's able to kill them? They know about kryptonite. Krem has kryptonite arrows. So strange. Why does he have that? Why does he know about that? If, Kal-El is the last son of Krypton and Kara is, the last daughter of Krypton, I guess. Like, how are these Kryptonians like so well known? It doesn't seem like they went out to space in this one. It doesn't seem like they were constantly being adventurous so people know who these Kryptonians are. I don't get that. And that would mean that there would be a bunch of Kryptonians all throughout the galaxy. Yeah, they don't have a planet, but it would be like Star Trek with J.J. Abrams with the Vulcans. Like, they just don't have a planet, but everyone knows that there's a bunch of Vulcans, just walking around in the galaxy. I don't get the vibe. That's definitely not the lore of Superman. So like that's strange that everybody knows about Kryptonians and that everybody knows that kryptonite is out there, but also Green Sun. Let's talk about that Green Sun. What a stupid idea. Does it come from the comics? Yeah, it does, but it's so dumb. Why did you bring this in, James Gunn? Like, you can change whatever you want from the comics. You made a lot of changes for this story, but you bring in the comic book accurate Green Sun. And it's not even a point. Like, she just it's just a plot device for Kara to lay in a cave for half a day so that Ruthie can go and have her part of the adventure on her own and not be saved by Supergirl until the end. But then when like the Green Sun goes down, it's just like fight on and, no point. Like, it's not like, oh, we have to, finish this fight before the Green Sun comes back up. We have to get off this planet. We have to go get to Crypto, all that stuff. That's not even the point. It's just like, it's convenience. And I'm tired of convenience stuff in this movie. There's a lot of it. So that was strange. Like the kryptonite, the Green Sun, why Krem would know how the Green Sun affects a Kryptonian. Like, who is this guy? Like, he seems just like a biker, like a dumb biker. But it seems like he's supposed to be really smart, but he doesn't show that. Like, and his dialogue definitely doesn't support that. And once again, he never uses the sword. Nobody uses the sword except for Supergirl at the end killing him, which wasn't a good move. That ending, it was not a good decision to kill Krem. It doesn't make sense for Kara. It doesn't make sense for Supergirl as a character. If Superman knew that she did that, he would not want her to partner with him. You know, he just wouldn't, because he is the Boy Scout. He is the Big Blue. He's the Boy Scout who's not going to allow anyone to die and won't let anyone who's working with him kill him. It happened with Hawk Girl for a joke in Superman, which was odd. And then now with Supergirl on purpose, but doesn't make sense because, like, how many people has Supergirl killed? You know, we didn't see any of that on Floating Krypton Orb. Has she been killing people on Earth? Like, is that the first person she's killed? Like, it just seems like she's done that a bunch of times. So, like, how heroic is this person? Like, you know, you have these moments where it's just like, oh, you could see what they were going for. You know, these epic, cool shots, these moments where, you know, Supergirl's leading the brides out of that thing, you know, full Mad Max style. And it's just like, that could have been cool. And then she's like, stab. And it's just, it ruins it. It ruins it. And it leaves you confused on what the point of this movie was. Because coming out of this movie, I'm not excited to see Supergirl. I'm not. And if the goal was to get me more excited about the DC universe, that goal succeeds. But I think a part of that goal is having Supergirl be someone that you're excited to see more of. And while I liked Millie Alcock's performance, while I liked parts of Supergirl, overall, I'm confused. I'm leaning toward that it was bad. You know, like I would say mediocre to bad. Like, there are good moments, but it's not enough to sustain over like this really clunky plot and bad dialogue and terrible villain. And so I'm just wondering, like, why did James Gunn do this movie? Why do Supergirl as number 2? Like, is she someone that's popular? No, she's not. Like, don't get me wrong, there are people who love Supergirl, men and women who love Supergirl, who've grown up with this character, that read the comics. But when you're thinking about the best heroes in the DC universe, Supergirl ain't top 10. All right, she just isn't, at least in my opinion. And I've read a lot of DC comics, and so it's just strange. And I get why you don't want to go with Batman, because the Batman, and you don't want to step on Matt Reeves' feet. But, you know, you could have gone a whole bunch of different areas. You could have done some buildup, you know, like, why didn't we get a Booster Gold movie? That would have been fun. Think about that. If Booster Gold was coming from the future back to the past to stop something that Superman did or that the Justice League did, but he's also trying to make a new life for himself and be part of this new Justice League that's going to be formed, that could have been a great movie to come in with. Green Lantern movie. I know we got lanterns coming out, but we could have done a Green Lantern movie. We could have done almost anything. There are hundreds of characters. A Mr. Miracle movie could have been fun. But nope, we come in with Supergirl, which would have been okay if it was good, and it wasn't good, and so it's not okay. and it makes us wonder why this movie. You know, especially when James Gunn has been like, we're not going to be like the MCU. We're going to come out with a good script, and once the script is ready, we'll make the movie, and whoever has the best script wins. And then you come out and your script is terrible, and the movie isn't good. And you're just like, we're just left wondering, why this movie? Why? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't do a whole lot to move the story further with Superman and Justice League and stuff like that. So, like, what's the point of putting this movie out? And I don't have confidence in James Gunn. I just don't. As far as, you know, someone in charge of a universe, I just don't have that confidence. Is he a good filmmaker himself? Yeah, Superman was fun. You know, and I love the Guardians movies like everybody else. So, like, yeah, he can make good movies. But whether he can be in charge, like, even just creatively of this whole universe, I mean, 2, it wasn't good. 1 you directed, and 2 wasn't good, and it was the one that you didn't direct. So I'm kind of curious whether you could do any. You know, that's where I'm at. I'm not a hater. I'm just saying, like, that's where I'm at. So I'm confused about this movie. There are good stuff. There's fun stuff. There's really bad stuff. Dancing cheek to cheek as a needle drop in a fight scene where aliens know this song? Like, and they're just like, that's the one we want to play. Dancing Cheek to Cheek. They were just singing alien songs, and you're now singing Dancing Cheek to Cheek while Supergirl's kicking everyone's butts. That's strange. It's just weird. And it didn't work for the movie, and a lot of the movie didn't work. Millie Alcock was fantastic. I thought her dynamic with Ruthie was good. Like, she's just a great actress. But this movie was beneath her, and it was beneath Supergirl. And it could have been good. Could have been good, but it wasn't. So I'm a little confused about it. That's my thoughts about Supergirl. Let me know what yours are down in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. If you are just listening to the audio version of this podcast, why don't you leave me a review? Let me know your thoughts about the show, about the direction of the show. You know, sometimes we're going to be talking about new movies. Sometimes we're going to be talking about old movies, but I'm just going to be giving you my honest reflections about them and what resonated with me and how I felt about them. So for this movie got me confused, and that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I will see you in the next one, or you'll hear me in the next one. Bye.